it seems that things are changing. I mean, the feeling in Ireland, of course. And one thing that struck me in your documentary was that they're bringing people in overnight. Is that a usual thing to do in countries, to bring in refugees overnight so no one sees them? Is that what's going on? It seems incredibly, just absolutely bizarre.
So what usually happens is, say a small town like Roscrea will be given 24 hours notice that their hotel, the only hotel in the town as it happens, is being essentially taken over to house migrants, and they've got no recourse to complain about this. The hotel owner is in a seasonal business. Why, he's going to snatch the government's arm off if they offer him 2 years at a higher going rate than what he's going to earn in, so it's actually more lucrative in many cases to house refugees than hotel guests in Ireland.
Wow.
And so this is a great deal for the landlord. The community, like I say, is given 24 hours notice. Sometimes they will come out and protest. And so the government has tended to bus in the migrants at night, where they can, deposit them in the hotel with relatively little fuss. And so the communities then have started, like in Roscrea or Coolock, they've started doing these overnight protests where they'll sit out and they'll have somebody on guard outside the venue for days or weeks at a time. And the Irish government has now had to start bringing a kind of gendarmerie style police force.
Wow.
With, essentially in riot gear to safely leave the migrants in the hotel.
Bloody hell. And just from the human side there, as much as I think this is a terrible political decision, these are individuals who are on these buses, and I'm just trying to think about how it must feel for them. It was sort of like, you can imagine one of these movies where you're on the bus and outside there are people maybe who don't like you and they're throwing rocks at you and you just want safety. You finally arrived in this place you've been promised was the place you can finally live and have an amazing life, and the locals are throwing things at you and all of these kinds of things, which I understand that side as well. They don't want it. It's ruining their country. It's ruining their safety. It's ruining the safety of their children because of the stats you've given about, was it MENAP? The MENAPT,
yeah.
Those peoples, but at the same time, it's just an absolute mess on all sides.
Well, I would say that the majority of the protests I've seen have been very peaceful and respectable, and the Irish, on the whole, don't have a problem with the migrants or the refugees. They have a problem with the government taking away cherished community hubs and seeming to do the whole, seeming to import unprecedented numbers of people into the country in a cat-handed way that's upturning their lives. And so there are some that have turned violent, but that tends to be aimed at the police. I haven't seen migrants being abused. There have been some instances, of course, but I don't think that's the overall tenor of these protests. And as for the migrants on the bus, I mean, yes, it's these poor souls have no doubt come from terrible circumstances. I've spoken to many of them. Some of them have fled the Taliban in Afghanistan. Some of them have come from Nigeria and Boko Haram. It's just a question of, is Ireland the right place for these people to start new lives? And does Ireland have an unlimited capacity to make this sort of steady flow of unfortunate people around the world a new normal? And many people don't think so.
I saw another video on YouTube. It was some demographer, I think, who was explaining how you're not really doing much good for the world by allowing the levels of immigration that they currently have in America, for example. He had these like gumballs or whatever I don't know what they're called, like just little marbles, or maybe it's just marbles. And he was saying, this is what you're taking from the world you're trying to help. And it was like one little thing, and there's like 1 billion of these things. And in that year, that thing's now just multiplied. So you're not doing the good you think you're doing. It's not helping anyone, and it's ruining the lives of the working class already in those countries. One of the things that struck me in the documentary, something I came to realize, was the word unfettered. Everybody's using that word, unfettered. It's like the word of the year because of immigration, unfettered. And because of that, I've always understood the word unfettered, or I started to understand it as meaning sort of unchecked, but it doesn't actually mean that. I looked it up in the dictionary. It just means unrestrained or uninhibited. So we're using a word wrong. I just wanted to make that point. Everybody's saying, it is unfettered in that sense, but I think they're trying to say unchecked, aren't they?
Many people complain about unvetted male migrants in Ireland.
I think that's where the words come from, because of unvetted.
Yes. It might be a sort of hocus pocus thing where, something that's originally said has been
unfettered has come to mean unvetted.
Yes. And to be honest, the two both apply.
Yeah, they're unfettered and unvetted.
Yeah.
I feel like a rapper. Well, this would be a good sort of line in a song, wouldn't it?
Shall I riff back? Shall we?
Unfettered, unvetted. If we could think of some other good rhymes.
Unrequited. I forced that a bit.
Unrequited love. If you were a rapper, you could do that.
Ireland's unrequited immigration love affair.
Yeah. Okay, that's our rap. That's really good. But look, they were saying they feel unsafe. They are worried about their children, and it seems they have reason to worry.